Hey there, how's it going? Today, I want to take you on a journey into one of the greatest mysteries of the past. Imagine this: millions of years ago, massive dinosaurs roamed the Earth, but before they became the towering creatures we know today, they all started their journey inside something fragile and astonishing: a single egg. Science has uncovered some incredible fossils, perfectly preserved embryos, eggs in unexpected colors, and entire nests fossilized in time. But do we really know everything? What did these eggs look like? Did all dinosaurs protect their young, or did some simply abandon them, forcing them to survive and grow on their own? Now, here's a fact about dinosaurs that almost no one talks about. Did you know there's a black market that makes millions selling stolen fossils, including dinosaur eggs? Many of these eggs never made it into the hands of scientists. They were stolen, smuggled, and sold as collector's items, locked away in private vaults, hidden from researchers. And the scariest part? Some of these eggs may have contained incredibly well-preserved fossilized embryos, ones that were never studied. Just think about how many secrets might have been erased from history because of this. And worse, how many more might disappear before they're even discovered. So stick around until the end, because today's video has some truly eye-opening revelations about dinosaurs, or rather about their eggs. Let's get started. The year was 1859, and the location, southern France. As dust rose from the dry earth, workers unearthed something unusual. It wasn't a fossilized bone, nor was it an ordinary rock. It was an oval-shaped structure, solid yet delicately sculpted by time. Back then, no one had ever seen a fossilized egg of that size before. Explorer Jean-Jacques Poch, who was working in the region, knew he had stumbled upon something extraordinary. But what exactly was it? A giant bird egg? A relic from an extinct reptile? At the time, science was still in its infancy when it came to understanding Earth's past, and the idea that dinosaurs laid eggs wasn't even part of the discussion. Without modern equipment to analyze the find, everything was based on speculation. For years, researchers debated the origin of the discovery. Some believed it belonged to an extinct marine animal, possibly a giant turtle. Others, more daring, suggested that it might have come from an unknown species of giant reptile. The mystery persisted until the early 20th century, when new discoveries began to connect the dots. Expeditions in Mongolia and China uncovered not only similar eggs but also dinosaur fossils found near them. Finally, science reached an undeniable conclusion. Dinosaurs laid eggs, and that revelation led to even more intriguing questions. How were these eggs protected? Were they incubated like a crocodile's, or cared for like a bird's? How could scientists determine which species each egg belonged to? These questions paved the way for groundbreaking discoveries. And if you want to keep exploring incredible facts and mysteries about dinosaurs, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way, you won't miss any new revelations about the prehistoric world. But this search for answers led science into even deeper mysteries, unexpected twists, and astonishing discoveries, including one of the greatest misinterpretations in paleontology, a mistake that would only be revealed decades later, deep in the heart of the Gobi Desert. The year was 1923. Under the scorching sun of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, a scientific expedition funded by the American Museum of Natural History made one of the most intriguing discoveries in paleontology. Amid the reddish dunes, researchers unearthed something unlike anything ever found before: a nest of fossilized eggs. But what truly caught their attention was the skeleton of a small, agile dinosaur positioned right on top of the eggs, as if it had died while attempting to steal them. At the time, the idea that dinosaurs cared for their young like birds seemed absurd. Scientists still viewed them as brutal, indifferent reptiles, and the fossil scene appeared crystal clear: a predator caught in the act, dying in the middle of its crime. The name given to this dinosaur reflected the assumption of the time: Oviraptor velociraptor, which literally means egg thief that loves ceratopsians. Researchers believed it had been stealing eggs from a small herbivorous dinosaur called Protoceratops, whose fossils were also found in the same region. Case closed, right? Not even close. Science has a strange way of turning its own certainties upside down, and that's exactly what happened. Decades later, new excavations uncovered even more eggs for analysis, and one crucial detail would change everything. Some of these eggs contained perfectly preserved fossilized embryos, and when scientists analyzed the microscopic bones, they made an astonishing discovery. The embryos didn't belong to Protoceratops. They were oviraptor embryos. This meant that, contrary to what had been assumed, that oviraptor wasn't stealing eggs. It was protecting its own nest. What had once seemed like the fossilized remains of a thief caught in the act was now recognized as a parent, possibly incubating its eggs just like modern birds do. It was as if we had accused a bird of stealing its own chicks. This revelation completely changed the way paleontologists viewed dinosaurs. For the first time, there was solid evidence that some species cared for their eggs, and maybe even incubated their young, much like birds do today. The irony? The name, oviraptor, was never corrected. Despite being innocent, it still carries the infamous title of egg thief. Hilarious, isn't it? But this was just the beginning. Scientists soon realized that many dinosaurs may have had complex parental behaviors. And it wasn't long before new excavations led to even more astonishing discoveries. Far from Mongolia, on a forgotten island, paleontologists uncovered something even more disturbing. Hundreds of fossilized eggs, abandoned in the same place, as if something terrible had happened. Madagascar, an isolated land in the middle of the Indian Ocean, a prehistoric paradise that thrived millions of years ago. But hidden among the rocks and layers of ancient sediment, paleontologists made a grim discovery: a vast graveyard of dinosaur eggs scattered across the region. The sight was unsettling. Hundreds of fossilized eggs, perfectly preserved, yet not a single one showed signs of hatching. It was as if, for some unknown reason, these hatchlings never had a chance to be born. Scientists identified these eggs as belonging to a dinosaur called Majungasaurus, a fierce carnivorous theropod that dominated Madagascar in the late Cretaceous period. But unlike some dinosaurs that fiercely protected their nests, Majungasaurus seemed to abandon its eggs to fate. And yet, the question remained, what happened here? What could have caused so many eggs to never hatch? It was then that scientists began investigating the possible causes behind this eerie phenomenon. What could have gone so terribly wrong in this place? After all, nature always finds a way. But here, something disrupted the cycle of life in a catastrophic way. One of the first theories suggested was a sudden climate shift. By the end of the Cretaceous, Madagascar was a land of extremes. Intense volcanic activity filled the skies with towering clouds of ash, covering vast areas in a suffocating layer of dust. Could these eruptions have poisoned the soil with toxic gases or drastically altered the region's temperature? If dinosaur eggs relied on environmental heat for incubation, a sudden drop or rise in temperature could have been fatal. But there was another possibility, something still seen in nature today: predators. By that time, small reptiles and early mammals already existed, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the slightest opportunity to strike. Hatchlings trapped inside their eggs were the perfect target, completely defenseless, an easy feast for any creature that knew how to crack open a shell. Could an army of egg thieves have wiped out an entire nesting ground before a single hatchling had the chance to break free? Or was it something even more terrifying? Scientists uncovered traces of microfossils around the nesting sites, which may point to a deadly disease. A lethal bacterium? A fungus that spread through the soil? Perhaps a silent epidemic swept through the region, seeping into the fragile eggshells, killing the embryos before they ever had a chance to live. If that were the case, this could be one of the earliest records of a mass plague wiping out an entire species before it was even born. Whatever happened in that place, one thing is certain: none of these eggs ever hatched. It was as if time had stopped forever, leaving behind a cemetery of lives that never had the chance to exist. But while this mystery still lingers, another discovery would soon send shockwaves through the world of paleontology. This time, it wasn't just a fossilized egg. It was something far more incredible, an embryo perfectly preserved inside, giving us a direct glimpse into the life of a dinosaur before it even had the chance to hatch. In 2021, paleontologists made a discovery that seemed impossible: a perfectly preserved dinosaur embryo, frozen in time for over 70 million years. For millions of years, it remained untouched. A tiny creature, curled up inside a fossilized eggshell, waiting for the moment to hatch, a moment that would never come. But against all odds, its story didn't end there. It was named Baby Yingliang, after the Chinese museum where it would be studied. And when scientists looked inside that egg, they didn't just find a fossil. They found undeniable proof of the connection between dinosaurs and modern birds. But how could something so fragile have survived intact for so long? And more importantly, what did this tiny embryo reveal about life before dinosaurs were even born? The baby Yingliang egg was discovered in Guangzhou, southern China, but it took years for scientists to recognize its true significance. At first, it was simply stored away in a warehouse, forgotten among other fossilized rocks. Only when researchers examined it closely did they realize something extraordinary. Inside the shell was a curled-up embryo, its spine arched and its tiny limbs folded against its chest. It was unlike anything ever seen before. The position of the embryo inside the egg was identical to the posture adopted by modern bird hatchlings just before they emerge from their shells. This behavior is known as tucking, and in birds today it is crucial for a successful hatching. In the final days before they break through the shell, bird embryos adjust their bodies into the right position to escape safely. Until baby Yingliang was discovered, scientists thought this behavior was unique to birds. But now, they had undeniable evidence that dinosaurs were already using the same hatching technique millions of years ago. This was a direct link between past and present, a behavioral trait that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs and still exists in modern birds today. But there was another question. How did this embryo remain so perfectly preserved? Fossilized dinosaur embryos are extremely rare. Their tiny, delicate bones usually decay quickly or are destroyed by time. But this egg met a different fate. The leading theory suggests that before it could hatch, the embryo was quickly buried under sediment, possibly due to a landslide, sudden flood, or even the shifting currents of an ancient river. The surrounding environment sealed off the egg from oxygen, preventing decomposition and fossilizing the delicate structure of the embryo in incredible detail. This means that baby Yingliang is not just a fossil. It is a direct glimpse into a moment frozen in time. For paleontologists, this was a crucial piece of evidence linking dinosaurs and birds. Scientists already knew that some dinosaurs had feathers and that many had skeletons strikingly similar to modern birds. But now, they had proof that even their incubation habits were alike. In a way, this discovery confirmed something astonishing. Dinosaurs never truly disappeared. Their legacy still exists today, flying over our heads, singing in the trees, waiting for the right moment to spread their wings. But baby Yingliang wasn't the only prehistoric egg hiding secrets of the past. Now, let's travel to the other side of the world, where paleontologists unearthed something just as astonishing. Dinosaur eggs so massive that they seemed impossible to belong to real creatures. But the truth was even more mind-blowing. Oh, and before we continue this journey through time, make sure to hit that like button. That helps us bring you even more incredible dinosaur content. Now, let's dive into another jaw-dropping discovery. Time moves forward, but some questions remain unanswered. If dinosaurs were the largest creatures to ever walk the earth, what did their eggs look like? Were they just as colossal as their parents? Or did they hide an even greater secret? The first clues emerged in South America, where paleontologists discovered entire fields of fossilized nests. The eggs were round and arranged in clusters, as if the dinosaurs had deliberately placed them there. At first, no one knew exactly which species they belonged to. But as more fossils were unearthed, the truth became clear. These were the eggs of titanosaurs, the last giants of the planet. Imagine a creature so massive that its footsteps made the ground tremble. Titanosaurs were among the largest dinosaurs to ever exist, with some species exceeding 115 feet in length and weighing up to 150,000 pounds. With a size like that, it would be easy to assume that their eggs were just as enormous, something worthy of a prehistoric monster. But surprisingly, titanosaur eggs measured only about 12 to 16 inches in diameter. An impressive size for an egg, sure, but tiny compared to the adults. Unlike mammals, which give birth to relatively large offspring, dinosaurs relied on rapid growth after hatching. The young needed to grow fast to avoid being devoured before reaching adulthood. This raised an even bigger mystery. If titanosaurs were so enormous, how did they protect their eggs from predators? The answer lay in the way they laid their eggs. Unlike some dinosaurs that incubated their nests like modern birds, titanosaurs buried their eggs in large nesting sites, covering them with sand and vegetation, allowing the Earth's natural warmth to do the work of incubation. It was a survival strategy based on numbers. They laid dozens, perhaps hundreds of eggs, knowing that only a few would make it to adulthood. But as scientists analyzed more fossilized eggs, they uncovered something even more unexpected. Some dinosaur eggs weren't white or beige, but had vibrant colors and even bluish-green spots. The idea of colored dinosaur eggs may sound strange. After all, for years, it was believed that all fossilized eggs were monochromatic, much like those of crocodiles and turtles. That all changed when paleontologists examined fossilized eggs from a dinosaur called Heywania, an oviraptorid found in China. The results were astonishing. Inside the eggshell structure, scientists discovered traces of biliverdin and protoporphyrin, the same pigments that give color to modern bird eggs. This meant that these eggs were naturally blue-green, just like those of some birds today. A plausible explanation is that these dinosaurs didn't fully bury their eggs but left them partially exposed, similar to what some modern birds do. And the reason? Camouflage. Eggs with distinct colors could blend into the environment, making them harder for predators to spot. This discovery also raised an even more fascinating question. If some dinosaurs had colored eggs, were they already developing parental strategies similar to those of modern birds? Titanosaurs, with their buried eggs that relied on environmental heat, clearly followed a reproductive strategy closer to that of reptiles. But Heywania, which may have left its eggs partially visible, suggested that some dinosaurs were already behaving more like modern birds. Each new egg discovery seemed to rewrite the rules of what we knew about dinosaurs. And ironically, many of these eggs could have revealed even more secrets if they hadn't fallen into the wrong hands. While paleontologists fought to preserve and study these fossils, others saw them as nothing more than valuable artifacts. Dinosaur eggs were being auctioned off to the highest bidder on the black market, snatched away from science and locked away in private collections. Just imagine how many dinosaur eggs have been taken out of the hands of researchers, never to be studied. How many secrets about Earth's prehistoric past have already been lost forever? Not all treasures come in the form of gold or precious stones. Some of the most valuable relics in the world don't shine, aren't encrusted with jewels, and were never crafted by human hands. Instead, they come from the Earth itself, preserved by time, carrying secrets that date back millions of years. And among these treasures, dinosaur eggs stand out as some of the most coveted and smuggled fossils in history. When it comes to these fossils, the true value isn't in the egg itself, but in the knowledge it could provide. The illegal fossil trade has been a long-standing issue, but when it involves dinosaur eggs, the situation becomes even more alarming. In recent years, dozens of these eggs have been sold on the black market, auctioned off for outrageous prices and snatched up by private collectors who would never allow them to be studied. Among these stolen relics were some of the rarest discoveries science could have ever made. But to the black market, science has no value. The only thing that matters is profit. For decades, fossilized dinosaur eggs have been stolen, sold, and trafficked as luxury items, vanishing into private collections. Many of them contained incredibly well-preserved embryos that will never be analyzed. Each stolen fossil is a piece of prehistory lost forever. And over the years, some cases have shocked the world of paleontology, revealing just how profitable and destructive the black market for fossils really is. In the 1990s, a clandestine shipment of fossils was intercepted at New York's airport. Among the confiscated crates, authorities found something that immediately caught their attention: a collection of fossilized eggs with strange patterns and markings, unlike any other fossils ever recorded. An investigation revealed that these eggs had been stolen directly from paleontological sites in Mongolia, one of the richest dinosaur fossil locations in the world. And their destination, a secret auction, where they were set to be sold to private collectors willing to pay millions of dollars for an exclusive piece of prehistory. But this was far from an isolated case. The operation exposed a massive smuggling network involving fossil thieves, traffickers, and wealthy buyers. Dinosaur eggs that could have been studied and potentially revealed new species were instead sold off as mere decorations. This was one of the first cases in which the Mongolian government intervened, demanding the return of the fossils and launching a legal battle to reclaim stolen artifacts. But this was just one case among many, and the problem was far from over. In 2013, one of the most important dinosaur fossils ever found, a nearly complete skeleton of a Tarbosaurus bataar, a close relative of Tyrannosaurus rex, was put up for sale in the United States. Once again, the Mongolian government took legal action, proving that the fossil had been illegally removed from the country. But if an entire dinosaur skeleton can be trafficked across borders, imagine what happens with dinosaur eggs, smaller, easier to transport, and highly sought after on the black market. In 2015, a shocking controversy erupted in the world of paleontology. A fossilized dinosaur egg, nicknamed baby dragon, was discovered in China and appeared to contain something extraordinary. A perfectly preserved embryo, possibly the most detailed ever found. But before scientists could study it, it disappeared. The fossil was sold in a secret auction and vanished without a trace. For years, no one knew where it had gone, until 2018, when rumors surfaced that the egg had been sold for over $1 million to an anonymous buyer. The problem? This egg could have provided unprecedented insights into dinosaur anatomy, growth patterns, and possibly even clues about the evolutionary link between dinosaurs and birds. But instead, it was lost. Where is it now? Locked away in a private vault, hidden from science, far from the knowledge that could have rewritten the history of paleontology. And the case of the baby dragon is far from unique. If you think fossil sales only happen at million-dollar secret auctions, think again. For years, fossilized dinosaur eggs were openly sold on the internet, listed on platforms like eBay and various underground websites, treated as if they were nothing more than common rocks. Many of these fossils came from illegal excavations in China, Brazil, and Argentina, and were sold as rare souvenirs. Prices ranged from a few hundred to thousands of dollars, with many buyers having no idea what they were actually purchasing. The most shocking part? Some of these eggs contained fossilized embryos inside. Imagine someone unknowingly buying a rare fossil, one that could hold the first ever evidence of how dinosaurs developed inside their eggs. But instead of being studied in a lab by scientists, it likely ended up on some collector's shelf, treated as nothing more than an exotic decoration. If secret auctions and online sales weren't shocking enough, what about the fact that dinosaur eggs were also sold as souvenirs in antique fairs around the world? Fossilized eggs were marketed as historical artifacts and sold with no documentation of their origins, making it nearly impossible to track how many were lost. Faced with this alarming reality, governments and scientific institutions began taking action. Countries like Mongolia and Argentina tightened their laws, banning the export of fossils and demanding the return of stolen specimens. Thanks to these efforts, some smuggled fossils were recovered and brought back for study, allowing scientists to analyze their structures, identify new species, and reconstruct prehistoric details that had remained unknown. But the problem is far from over. The black market for fossils is still thriving, and many dinosaur eggs remain inaccessible to science. Now, let me ask you something. How many dinosaur fossils do you think have ended up on the black market, never to be studied? Do you believe some are still hidden away in secret collections to this day? Let me know your theories in the comments. I want to hear what you think. Dinosaur eggs have revealed incredible secrets about the past. Thanks to them, we've been able to understand how these prehistoric giants were born, how they grew, and even how some of them cared for their young. We've discovered fossilized eggs containing incredibly well-preserved embryos, identified species we never imagined existed, and even found evidence that some dinosaurs had bird-like behaviors millions of years before modern birds appeared. But at the same time, how many of these discoveries were stolen from science? Each illegally sold fossilized egg, each embryo lost to private collections, represents a piece of prehistory that vanishes forever. Every fossil taken from its scientific context is a missing puzzle piece that can never be placed back. And the biggest question remains, what else is still waiting to be discovered? In recent years, paleontologists have uncovered increasingly detailed discoveries. But there are still vast unexplored regions on Earth, places that may hold intact eggs, with fossilized embryos that have never seen the light of day. If there's one thing science has taught us, it's that the past still has so much left to reveal. And maybe, buried beneath layers of rock, protected by time, the next great discovery is already waiting for us. But dinosaur eggs are just one part of the story. These discoveries are only a glimpse of the mind-blowing mysteries that prehistory still holds. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below which part surprised you the most. That helps us keep bringing epic content your way. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.